This is neat. Okay, यहाँ पे मुझे पता चल गया अगर आप participate इसमें मेरी माइक से पढ़ सकते हो? Okay. Visual system को operationalize किया जा सकता है क्या? No. Okay. You want to ask me something?
Ma'am, we had a module in trust games. So I wanted to ask, like, how does that trust games also translate into other domains, like brand and consumer interactions, the trust between a brand and consumer, like those kind of interactions can be modeled using any behavioral games.
I think they say that a lot of applications are there. This behavioral economics in the field of marketing. इस तरह के trust games
Like the brand offerings when they are offering value propositions to consumers. The consumers, how can they trust the brand? And like the marketplace trust, is there any way to model it using behavioral games or game theory? Like there are behavioral, we have consumer behavior theories regarding that, which covers those aspects. But there are no like set of game theory look on like outlook on those things.
I need to then look into it and think along those lines because it's tricky. I'm not from marketing, so it's very difficult for me. It is finance में इसके applications दिखाया गया है. Hello and good morning. I could see a few people have joined the meeting. Ms. Sakshi, Miss Anne Mary George and Nandivardhan Bangi. If you have anything to discuss, anything to ask, you can please talk to me. What the theory shows is that trusts are largely exploited, probably. In the context of this the finance game, total return payback. Payback has been generally amount invested. Payback. Okay, so there is always a possibility of trust being exploited. Nevertheless, trust help in reducing the costs. So what you're asking is that whether marketers can use trust games.
If they can, like if marketing researchers can use this kind of behavioral games or game theory, particular type of games to model the market interactions between consumers and brands or consumers and service providers, those kind of like exchanges can it be modeled, or how should one go about modeling?
Did you try searching for any paper on this?
Ma'am, I actually searched if there are particular game theory applications in this field, like this trust, brand trust, and these things. But there are very few papers, like and even those are not in reputed journals. Like there are game theory applications in marketing. Like there is even like different kind of there are reinforcement learning and multi-arm bandit theorem is there, which has been used in like retail environment, the buying to model the buying behavior of consumers in retails. So that has been done, but like to model the behavioral aspect, that game theory has not been used particularly till now to model the behavioral aspect of consumer brand interactions or the interaction of consumer and service provider, which is an interesting aspect, a new aspect, like one can try to develop it if it hasn't been done.
So specifically, normal games and behavioral trust games are different. So you're talking about applications of game theory that will be different as compared to applications of, behavioral games or trust games. So, accordingly,
This is an area I feel like one can try to see if there is a possibility of applying this in this intersection of the two areas. Because I read somewhere recently that nowadays like there is a very interesting kind of studies being done in the intersection of two or many areas of different areas of studies, because the pure science or pure subjects have been studied very deeply by the previous researchers, but the intersection areas is the where new knowledge lies that have read recently. I think like these kind of areas where people we can try to apply theories and the mathematical knowledge of one field to another field. Those are very interesting opportunities for knowledge creation and like, understanding the world from a different lens.
right. So, right. Or else you can keep everything muted. So, I think yeah, one can read the trust games extensively in order to understand कैसे इसे अप्लाई किया जा सकता है. मैंने कभी इस anyway, as I said that knowledge in the marketing is very limited, so need to find out more. Again, I welcome the others, those who joined late, Gopi, Krishnan, Satu, Jalandhar. In case any one of you have any question or anything to discuss, please you can talk. Something interesting people are joining and not say anything.
And we had received the one or two questions earlier. We can discuss those questions.
So I see, Norsam Tamam, you previously, you sent a question through the Google form. In case you can hear me, you asked whether we could suggest any key topics or modules that are most important for the exam. Basically, I think questions in the exam has come from all the modules, so we tried to distribute them equally. So there is nothing specific, no specific modules we can specify from where more questions would be coming. But as you understand that maybe the later topics starting from prospect theory, then mental accounting, then intertemporal choice models, and finally strategic interactions. They are basically the four pillars of behavioral economics or behavioral science theories. So you can definitely focus on them more. The previous modules are basically a prelude to them, building the initial, structure in order to speak further or extend further on those topics. So nothing should be left out, but of course, more conceptual discussions are there in those later modules, starting from, I think, module 18, while up to the initial introductory modules gives a basic outline, broad structure of the behavioral economics, the interdiscipline of behavioral economics. Yes, after the initial first 8 modules were introduction, and after that we talked about heuristics, values, biases, etc. And you might have seen that these concepts are later on applied everywhere. So that's how they prepare the base, and after that we extend those things into other modules. So all of them are equally important. And the second question you asked, I'm still talking to Norsan Tamal. Are there certain concepts or problem types that appear more frequently in assignments or exams? Any idea?
Like mostly the distribution of questions in exams and even in assignments are like moderate, easy, and hard. So like easier questions are there around 20 to 30%, and mostly there are moderate questions. Like 50% of the questions are moderate questions, which are basically relating to the theoretical aspect, and which are very simple questions like what is a prospect, definition of a prospect, relating to definitions, relating to the theories used, the underlying logic of the theories. Very few questions are application based, which are a bit difficult to solve, which are mathematical in nature, like the utility obtained from certain activities. Even for example, there was a example on studying and partying. So utility derived from studying and partying. We have questions on that in the assignment. Those are a bit difficult questions to
Yes,
solve.
some portions of assignment questions are going to be there, right? What is that percentage? 25%? No.
Ma'am, around 50% will be there.
Okay.
But 25% of those will be the values of the questions will be different.
Would be different, right, yeah.
And 25% might be the same way.
Right. So if you do well the assignment questions, do it repetitively. We're making mistakes. If you're making mistakes in assignment questions, then try to correct them, learn the right answer. Then that will take care of 50% of the questions that are going to come in the final exam. So that makes it like as the TAs are also here. So assignment questions would be straight away reproduced in the final exam, 25% of them. And then 25% of the exams will questions will be again assignment exams, but with some changes in the values. So that makes 50% of the questions pretty much already known to you. And the rest of the 50% will of course not be known, but since these are all objective type multiple choice questions, so yeah, if you understand the concepts well, I don't think things would be very difficult. Just you do not need to exactly memorize things, because even if we ask you for for some formula, the thing would be the correct formula would also be given to you. So if you have understood it, then by looking at the alternatives, you would be at least able to understand which one is the correct formula. So accordingly, there is not much of load. I think understanding or learning is important, and that would be sufficient also. That can take care of a lot of problems. The third question is, so I just repeat that 50% of the questions in the final exam will be from the assignment straight away, the assignments that have been given to you over the last, over the, this is a 12 weeks course, right? So yeah, over a span of 12 weeks. And so pattern would be pretty similar to the way that they have been in the assignments. What are the common mistakes students make while preparing for the course, especially in the exam? This course is studying for the first time, so we actually do not have much information about what are the mistakes that people are making, why they are making such mistakes and things like that. But stay assured that the question patterns would be pretty similar to, or sort of same pattern as you are getting in the assignments. And of course, there are three types of questions: tough, moderate, and easy. And most questions, as you know, 50% would be already from the assignments. So from the rest, some would be slightly tougher. That is, would require more understanding, better understanding. Some would be pretty easy, very basic, straight away from what you have learned in the PPTs. And that's it. And of course, all the questions are from PPT based only. Though we basically have given you references and asked you to study reference books also, if possible, if needed, if you are more interested. But then going through the PPTs extensively is good enough to score well in the exam. Somebody called Drishnach Dandapani asked some questions. I do not know that person has joined or not yet. But still, let me see. Do I need to learn the formulas that are mentioned under each theory for this course, or can I focus more on the application of the theory itself and maybe later come back to the formulas? Again, applications and formula, they cannot be separated, right? Unless and until you understand the formula, you cannot apply them also. And as I said that it's option based, that is multiple choice type questions. So the correct formula would also be there. If you develop understanding, if you fully understand the concept, then by looking at the alternatives, you will be able to understand which one is the correct answer, and then accordingly you can pick up the correct answer, and finally then further go for applications. Yes, for example, we have talked about prospects. So we have talked about regular prospects, negative prospects, positive prospects. Okay, it's quite possible that you are directly asked whether a prospect is positive, negative, or regular or not. That kind of questions have already got in your assignments, right? So it's all about understanding how are we defining a prospect as regular, positive, or negative, and then accordingly you answer. Maybe there are some formula and more mathematics in which topic. Some are there, I remember, in intertemporal choice models. In the calculations of, say, projection bias, in the calculation of quasi-hyperbolic discounting or hyperbolic discounting. So when I derived the formula in order to explain something, Those things need not be remembered, but the final formula probably need to be remembered. For example, you would need to remember the formula for quasi hyperbolic discounting. You may need to remember the formula for hyperbolic discounting. So the final things can need to be remembered, not the entire derivation of the formula, or maybe specifically while talking about projection bias, we talked a lot about different mathematical formula. They need not be remembered or marked up in any sense. That would be absolutely fine, right? So this is what, on the basis of the questions, very few that I have received. Other than that, if you have any question, please can talk to me.
And there were some questions on like people were getting confused on the what is a regular prospect. There have been questions on that in the forum, in the chat forum of the course portal. So we can discuss on that for a few minutes. Like what is a regular prospect and how does that definition come about?
Yeah, maybe someone was actually consulted alternative books and had probably some questions, right? So I those responses are to only those individuals, right?
No, ma'am.
Everybody can say that. Okay. So in case you have followed the discussions in the forums, uh, then probably there were some questions regarding, you know, definition of prospects, regular prospects. We have given you some of the references, and I would strictly suggest you to follow those references, at least for this course, for this exam. I do not, you know, uh, do not suggest you something which I myself have not, consulted. So the prospects, the definitions of regular, positive, negative prospects, I have taken from primarily from the works of Kahneman and Tversky. The same kind of prospects are there also in the books that I have referred to. So I'm actually not familiar with any kind of other kind of definitions that might be there in other books or any other sources. So I again repeat that you strictly, confine yourself to the references that I have mentioned. So from following that, strictly positive prospect would be something which has positive outputs or outcomes. That is, we write a prospect as outcomes, comma, its probability, semicolon, outcome, probability, and so on. So first of all, the probabilities should add up to 1, and all outcomes should be strictly positive. We would call it a positive, strictly positive, prospect. Any prospect that, again, the probabilities add up to 1, while the outcomes are negative, all negative, we would call it a strictly negative prospect. And if the outcomes are mixed, for example, the outcomes could be positive as well as negative, we call it a regular prospect. And when the probabilities do not add up to 1, then also we call it a regular prospect. So if all the outcomes are positive, still the probabilities do not add up to 1, we would call it a regular prospect. All the outcomes are negative, still the probability do not add up to 1, we would call it a regular prospect. So regular prospects have two conditions. First, the outcomes should be a mix of both positive and negative. Second, the probabilities need not add up to 1. So we have mixed outcomes, positive, negative, and probabilities add up to 1. We have regular prospect. Probabilities outcomes negative, positive mixed up, probabilities do not add up to 1, we have regular prospect. Outcomes are not mixed. They are either positive or negative, but probabilities do not add up to 1. We have regular prospects. So prospects are not regular, that is either positive or negative, when all the outcomes are either positive or negative and the probabilities strictly add up to 1. So this is how I have always dealt with in this course while trying to define the prospects, and I request you to stick to this definition because all the evaluations would be done from this perspective or understanding only. Right. So this is about very basic thing. How do we define prospects? Is there anything else?
Like for prospect, this is fine. There are other questions.
You can also, write your questions right now in the chat box in case you, for some reason or other, is not able to speak up. Then you can express your questions or queries by writing in the chat box as well. What is that concept? जहाँ पे there is maximum application of marketing. I'm forgetting.
Trust games.
No. In some other topics I read. Mental accounting. Mental accounting has the maximum probabilities extensively used in the context of marketing.
Initially, we had discussed about the types of needs also, and Maslow's need hierarchies, particularly from marketing. Like it has been studied mostly in marketing.
Okay.
We also used that to explain the type of needs that humans have initially in the initial modules.
Right. I think that is also used by the HR professional. I know.
Yes,
I mean,
HR professional also. It is used in HR literature as well.
So in the marketing, you decide, which need you plan to cater to?
Yes, ma'am. Basically, we analyze like if the consumers are buying a product, they are basically trying to satisfy which of their needs. And basically, there might be in any situation when they are buying a product or consuming a product, there might be a number of needs that they are trying to satisfy at the same time. It might be that they are only looking to satisfy one need, or it might be that they are trying to satisfy a combination of different needs, which may be on different levels of priority. Like some need may be of higher priority, but there might be other needs also. So while designing any product or offering, what marketers try to do is take that into account, that which particular needs are being consumers are looking to satisfy with this particular offering. So we will have the value proposition according to that.
Okay. So there is one question from Ms. Sakshi Chaturvedi. How can we apply behavioral sciences or economics in financial sector? Actually, it is extensively used in the domain of finance, and that's why we have, separate subjects also often taught, that is behavioral finance. These concepts are applicable in all possible domains. Finance and marketing are two major domains where they are applied. I can give you a few specific examples which actually have typically applications of finance only. For example, if you can talk about disposition effect, that is observed in the context of financial transactions only. Disposition effect talks about the fact that we tend to sell the winning positions quickly and hold on to our losing positions. The stocks that are not making money, we basically tend to hold them, while the stocks that are making money, we tend to sell them, specifically when there is a need to raise finances. Now, why this is done, whether this is, a sensible idea or not, these are being dealt with in the context or under the concept of disposition effect. In a similar fashion, when you talk about a lot of biases, then also there is huge applications of finances. For example, readily I can think of confirmation bias, hindsight bias, and all these have applications. So these biases are observed in the field of financial decision makings also. When you talk about heuristics, representative availability, anchoring, if you understand these concepts, then you would realize that while making financial decisions, we actually all apply these kind of heuristics. Uh, Anchoring heuristics, availability heuristics, while making decisions regarding which financial product to buy. How do we anchor our the prices of a particular product, and that is financial product, and whether we should purchase it or not, to a large extent depends on anchoring heuristics, availability heuristics, and that's why they have applications in financial sector. Going forward, because we are just talking about trust games, in the trust game, or in the context of trust games, the examples that were discussed again related to were financial markets only, because in the domain of finance, specifically, many transactions or many contracts are not completed immediately. So in the sense, when we go to buy something in the market, most often, unless and until it's a durable product, the contracts are immediately completed. I pay for it, I get the product, transaction is done. And even if it's a durable product, it would come under some kind of warranty or guarantee. So there are some contracts related to future services. Some are free of cost, some are not free of cost. So those kind of transactions are much more, complete when the transaction takes place. While in the domain of finance, most transactions are not complete, or contracts are not completed immediately, because as you understand that a lot of financial transactions are forward looking or future looking. The final settlement would come after maybe a few months, maybe a few years, right? So till the time the transactions are ongoing, then we have the contracts not being completed. Only when the transactions are settled, then the contract is completed. So, from that perspective, in the financial markets, trusts are something extremely important. The more we can develop trusts, possibly, the more it is said that the functioning of the market would be more smooth, or we can say functioning of the market would be smoother. There would be less transaction costs associated with different executions of contracts or transactions. So, in a way, trust games are applicable in that context. Some of the behavioral games, if you talk about centipede games, the most of the games we have discussed all involved basically transactions of money. So, from that perspective, all of them are applicable in the financial context, or maybe they are developed, they are discussed primarily having financial transactions in mind, right? So, that's how it is extremely important. Now, if I talk about mental accounting's fungibility concept completely depends on financial understanding, financial behavior altogether, whether why I'm going to make some purchases, whether I should make some purchases or not, which fund I'm going to use when it comes to investments and all. We have given also a lot of examples in most contexts while there have been financial decision making. Specifically, if you remember, in the context of mental accounting, towards the end, we discussed about some concepts where one individual needs to decide how much money to invest in, say, stock of different companies, stocks of his own company, how much money to invest in pension funds, in provident funds, in mutual funds, in how much to pay for insurance premiums, everything. So all these are driven by, to some extent, different concepts under mental accounting. So from there you can understand that basically financial sector or financial domain to a large extent depends on this kind of behavioral analysis or maybe understanding or perspective that are being discussed in the course. If you have anything specific, you can ask me. Uh, when it comes to intertemporal choice models, again, intertemporal choice models, we probably did not discuss specifically much about, financial transactions. But we have talked about transactions in the sense that we are going to buy some tickets. Okay, they are also part to some extent. See, in this context, I just remembered that when we discussed about, say, closing an account, that was part of mental accounting. Now, when it comes to, we tend to, prefer or we rather try to always close accounts, because of which that's why if I make an expenditure, I try to ensure that whatever I have purchased or I have paid for something, I must get it, right? So all decisions, even if I'm buying a ticket for a theater, I'm buying a ticket for, say, a cricket match, I'm buying a ticket for a concert. So in all those cases, there are financial transactions involved, and we would need to understand whether, when to close the account, how to close the account, whether I should attend this or that or not. But typically, when it comes to the financial sector decision making, as I was talking about intertemporal choice models, there probably we did not give much examples related to typically financial decision makings. But they could be always, they are always applicable to financial decision making as well, because see, a hyperbolic discounter or uh, the other one is an exponential discounter. So an exponential discounter is basically a consistent discounter. So we use that net present value formula. And in that case, if you have invested somewhere, you would remain invested and would not plan to withdraw your money if you are a consistent and exponential discounter. I am talking about the concept we discussed in the context of intertemporal choice models. And there, an exponential discounter would stick to his decision. A hyperbolic discounter would not stick to his decision. Now, when it comes to financial decision making, it is quite possible that I start investing money in a particular financial asset. Say I start making contribute to SIPs and then investing in mutual funds. Now, if I'm not a consistent decision maker, then what would happen is that maybe after a few periods of time, because of my impulses to spend more, I will stop my SIPs. I may start withdrawing money from the mutual funds where I have deposited my money. So I had a goal to build some wealth, say 10 years down the line. And because of my hyperbolic discounting, behavior, I would not be consistent. I would not continue with my goal. Rather, I would discontinue it. So this is how we can, understand why people at times deviate from their financial goal. They start with some financial goal, but then finally they probably falter. They are not able to fulfill their financial goals. Could be because of this kind of intertemporal, behavior differences. You begin with some understanding, but in between, you probably deviate from your basic idea or basic. So that's how so I talked about, mental accounting, applications of mental accounting in the domain of financial decision making. There could be also applications of intertemporal choice models in the domain of financial decision making. And of course, in behavioral games, there could be A lot of examples are there where financial decision makings are involved, decision making related to financial sector. And prospect theory, if you look at it, then at times, Kahneman and Tversky is sort of blamed for using only regular prospects as well as depending too much of monetary transactions. So whenever there are monetary transactions, of course, that has something to do with financial decision making. So prospect theory, if you remember the S-shaped curve, talking about losses, talking about gains versus losses. The losses are more painful. The slope is more than double. Basically, if you remember the value of lambda at minus 2 point or 2.25, it appears with a negative sign. So losses pinch more than twice the happiness that we get from gains. So all the discussions were related to financial gains and losses only. So from that perspective, economics actually not separating finance from or financial applications from economic applications. When it comes to behavioral sciences or behavioral economics, most examples revolve around financial decision makings mostly, and there are of course applications of marketing as well. These are the two domains which heavily draws from behavioral economics or behavioral sciences. I would not see much applications, or I would not come across, I have not come across applications in the field of operations or, HR. They are more mathematical in nature. Operations is heavily dependent on or closely related to game theoretic approaches, not behavioral, much of behavioral games. And human resource HR must have applications, but yes, I since I typically belong to the discipline of economics and to some extent finance, so I tend to draw more examples or discuss more examples from these two domains, while other possibilities are always there. I hope I'm able to answer Sakshi. In case there are any other questions, you can also write in the chat box.
One question has been received on the course forum.
Mm.
It is about how do we go about the course like revision at the end. They are asking about how should one revise the course at the end for the exam. They should go about like some particular sections are more important or something like that.
Mhm. Okay. Um, there is 60 modules. It's so difficult to sum things up. Do we have a summary of each topic?
Um, Not necessarily we do not have, but like there are we have provided the modules in the course portal. If someone goes on the SWAYAM NPTEL portal, they will say that the modules are also attached beneath the videos. So instead of if they're trying to revise and they do not want to see the video again, they can go on and see the specifics from the modules, what they are what things they are want to revise particularly. Maybe they want to revise some mathematical formula. They can go on to those slides in the module and revise those mathematical formulas or the mathematical questions. Those things can be done by students.
And I think also in the PPTs, the important concepts have been highlighted.
Yes.
In bold or maybe at times in yellow colors also. So while revising, you just try to focus because a lot of things are written and spoken. So it's of course understandably not possible to go through all of them. So you try to focus on those highlighted, concepts. Try to understand whether you remember understood it properly or not, or you remember the concept or not. And if you do remember the concept, I think that would be good enough because as understandable, you have talked about thousands of things, but then It's also not possible for us to ask questions from very generic discussions that have done in the course. So of course questions are also centered around more important concepts, those who have been probably those which are highlighted sort of. So uh, you know there is probably someone who has posted this kind of a question in the forum, how to prepare for the course, how to revise the course while preparing for the exam. So that is what could be uh, one way. Someone has written Vibhushan Pradhan, ma'am, it's not highlighted. I think, I personally have, gone through all the PPTs. At least I have tried to highlight. I remember highlighting some of the important, concepts. Let me take many times the see. Okay, say for example, if I just had this trust game thing opened, so trust games are, of course, they continue. There is nothing. Trust game in itself is probably something which is discussed at length. If I go to say module 24, anomalies of UT and prospect theory. These are anomalies. Uh, I just saw that prospect theory is highlighted at one point. So, okay. Uh, mm, Some of the things are also in italics. For example, reference point, reference level, they are in italics. So some kind of highlighting or emphasizing are there. Otherwise, say I'm in module 24. There I have talked about the prospect theory editing process, which basically includes 6 operations: coding, combination, segregation, cancellation, simplification, and the detection of dominance. And here in this context, say for instance, one slide is devoted to coding. So I do not need to separately highlight anything. Similarly, one slide is devoted to combination, one slide is devoted to segregation, and things like that. So from that perspective, yes, those things will not be highlighted always. Let me check a few other. Say I begin with module 18. Module 18 was on nudges. Okay, nudge, right? Uh, yes, by highlight, I also wanted to mean that some would be like in uh, I wanted to mean that even they could be in italics also, or otherwise in bold, and might not be, in yellow, but okay. So, for example, this is module 20. Washing out of the priors have been highlighted, though there is a typical, slide devoted to it. And of course, there are a few other slides. So, what all is important is that what is meant by washing out of the priors. You just need to have an understanding of it. Then there are different biases discussed, and of course, confirmation bias. There are a few slides devoted to it. Again, understanding the bias in itself is, good enough. There are examples. Examples are there to assist you in understanding the concept better. So yes, not frequently, not too many things are highlighted, because maybe the idea is that we have discussed also things on different slides. So at some point when there are not separate slides, or maybe when they're just introduced, then they are highlighted, and later on there are discussions on it. Ideally, maybe I want to say that you focus on each of the concepts, and this could be one way of revising things. If you have already understood, you do not need to go through the examples again and again. And yes, understanding the concepts, sorry, because we are not going to ask questions from examples, are we? No.
Mostly no, but
No.
like for certain modules there are Examples in the sense like the example of joining the school, some school if they visit the party school or a prestige school.
Okay,
Those
right.
kind of examples.
Yeah.
Questions.
So, like when we discussed, I think those questions are there in assignments also.
Assignments also.
Yeah. So if they're coming from the assignment, say as I told you that the question pattern would be very similar to the assignment questions. So we'd never say that, you know, in module 24 there was an example and with respect to that example, what has been the answer. But for example, when we discussed projection bias, then there was a lot of discussion on past choosing that school, prestige school or party school. And since the entire projection bias was primarily, explained using that example only, maybe there would be reference to that example the way it has been in assignment. So you try to, understand the pattern of questions that are there in the assignments, and accordingly, similar type of questions would also be coming in the final exam. So that would probably, somewhat to some extent clarify what are the kind of questions we are going to ask, how you are going to cover the entire course content while trying to revise. So basically, more focus on the main concepts, while examples just facilitate understanding of individual concepts. Yes, just now I opened and some few slides, and I just remembered that there were probably, discussions on concepts like uh, sub-additivity, sub-certainty, and sub-proportionality. So, for instance, the sub-additivity formula has been highlighted. Again, I hope you got it that sub-additivity, sub-certainty, and sub-proportionality. The formula might vary when this is a cumulative prospect and when this is a non-cumulative prospect. So you could be slightly more careful about, though of course I'm not going to ask very technical questions in the final exam, but those formulas you might need to remember of sub-additivity, sub-certainty, and sub-proportionality. If we have asked questions involving, some kind of bets, for example, gambles, the kind of examples that are being discussed, we must have reproduced the gambles there and then ask questions.
Like for particular games also, like in prisoner games, we have given, if we are asking about the prisoner dilemma questions relating, then we are giving them the
gambles.
Matrixes,
Right.
And even the tree diagram we are giving in some questions.
Right, yeah. So then as you understand that you would not require to remember the gambles or the games. You just need to remember the concept, the formula maybe, and once the gambles or the games are given, you can apply them. There is this weighting function. I don't think I have given questions where you need to calculate the weighting function formula, which could be a little cumbersome, but I cannot, assure or guarantee. So yes, these are some of the basic formula that, the final formula, as I told you in the beginning itself, that do not need to remember the derivations. How do we arrive at the subproportionality concept? How do we arrive at the sub-certainty or a sub-additivity concepts? But yes, the final formula you may need to remember in order to apply them in case there are questions on those concepts.
the slides, you can screen share also. You can discuss those slides if you want to show some slides.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Uh,
Yes, you're audible. And
First of all, thank you so much for putting out the course. It's been great so far. Not finished the last, I mean, 11th and 12th modules. But like this, I don't have any question as such, but it's like a request. If we have any doubts in the future, can we have such sessions, or is there a way to contact you to clarify our doubts? Or
by future, in you mean when the course is over?
like before the final exams, there will be some time. So if you're revising and if you have certain doubts, then can we just,
Post.
how can we clarify it, or is there?
You can always ask questions in the course forum, and I need to confirm from the NPTEL office here that to which up to which date we can have this kind of live sessions going on. But all the questions that are asked or raised in the forum are definitely answered. And you can always raise your questions there. And other than that, I think you can also trace my email ID at IIT Roorkee, and you can write to me also in case there is anything. So I'll try to respond. Baki, about live sessions, I'm not very sure how to up to which date it can be scheduled or how frequently it can be scheduled. Other than that, I
Thank
tried
you.
to answer the questions that you already had put in Google Form. I hope you got your answers right. In case,
Definitely, ma'am.
okay, thank you. In case any one of you ask, want me to, repeat discussions on any of the slides, any of the modules so far that you have already covered, you can ask me. I have the PPTs with me. I can, run through a few of them. I mean, as per your requirement, if needed. If you want me to clarify any concept that has not been, clear through the videos, or you have other questions or queries, you can always ask me, any one of you, or you can write also at the chat box. Yes, you can write to me at sujata.kar @ms.iitr.ac.in. I think this is publicly available email ID. Nevertheless, Sakshi asked me, can we reach out to you if we had any queries in the future after the course when you go through the reference books or articles? Yes, you can. You can write to me at this sorry, I'm sorry, there is a small mistake in my email ID, right? But anyway, this is there in the IIT our website as well. So this is my email ID. You can always write to me. I definitely respond in case you have any question. So it's like the PDF versions of the PPTs are uploaded?
Yes.
Uploaded.
When they go on the course portal, and we have mentioned the lecture center weeks. Each of the lectures, we have listed 5 lectures under week 1, then the next 5 under week 2, and in each lecture there is a video which is attached with the YouTube link, and they can directly play the video on the course portal as well, and they can go to the YouTube also and also see these videos. And directly below that video, there is the PPT in the PDF form, which is attached on the course portal only, and they can open it in a new tab and visit those PDFs also, the PDFs of the PPTs, and even on the course portal they can browse through it.
So those PDFs have those red marks, or they do not have?
They have the right. They are the final PDFs after the recordings. So whatever, if you have written something,
they are also there.
They are also there. Those things are also there.
Okay. And beside that, do they have the transcription also? That you do not know.
Transcripts, ma'am, like of the video, what you are saying, those things. Ma'am, those things currently it is not there, okay, but it will be uploaded later on.
Okay, you don't have the transcripts. Now, do the subtitles come?
Subtitles, ma'am, that will be uploaded to the YouTube once the course runs. That is done in a separate phase by the NPTEL for new courses. So they will probably contact you soon for transcription.
They have already contacted me, and transcription is done. But I do not know whether they are shared with them or not.
So that will be once that
PPT
phase is completed, then it will be available.
Okay.
Then a lot of the courses also are discussing. There are a lot of modules in which there are discussion around the discounted utility model, and there are various kinds of discounting, which are like hyperbolic and quasi-hyperbolic discounting, and knife quasi-hyperbolic discounting is also there. So, how does the difference?
I mean, I have been asking them, so doesn't seem. A few have left also, but still there are 10, some 8 people are still there. It's supposed to be active director. Okay. Okay. So those who are here, in case you have any question, then you please ask me. Otherwise, we can close the meeting. I hope there is no more question. I'm closing the meeting then. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Thank you, Sakshi. I wish all of you good luck for exam. Do well in the exam. Closing the meeting, right? I'd call you.